Tonight, you will hear the poignant tale of Miss Thorson's torture in Uyghur re-education camps in East Turkestan as part of the Communist Party for China's brutal campaign to assimilate and eliminate Muslim and ethnically Turkish minorities. Mr. Khanat will follow up discussing the political system that made such atrocities happen. As one of two individuals who escaped China after being released from a camp, Ms. Thorson's story is unique, but her experiences aren't. Since 2016, millions of Muslims like Ms. Thorson have been incarcerated, tortured, and even in numerous cases killed by the Chinese government because basic human rights, such as freedom of speech and freedom of religion, are non-existent. The University of Rochester College Republicans believe that what makes America unique is that said rights are protected and consequently basic human dignity is recognized. However, that grants us, Republicans, Democrats, Independents, and Americans, with the moral responsibility to raise awareness about global Uyghur human rights violations because we may have these discussions here without fear of intimidation or cancellation. We're proud to follow the leadership of Republican Senator Marco Rubio and Republican Congressman Chris Smith to bring justice for Uyghurs with the hope that one day we may finally be able to say with certainty, never again. As you hear from Ms. Thorson and Mr. Khanat, we ask you to be respectful and courteous. Afterwards, we'll open the floor for Q&A. If you have a comment or question, we encourage you to speak, but please keep them under a minute because we want to hear from as many of you as possible, as well as give our guests a chance to respond. I'd like to give a special shout out to our co-sponsors, College Democrats, the U of R, St. John Fisher, and RIT, Muslim Students Association chapters, the Refugee Students Association, and Liberty in North Korea. Thank you once again for joining us, and I'll now pass the mic to Sehun, who will formally introduce our guests.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Sehun Kim. I am a graduate student at the Warner School of Education. Before we welcome our first guest, Mr. Khanat, we would like to just thank each and every one of you for coming. And as our president, Sierra President has reiterated, please be respectful. And I would also personally would like to encourage everyone to look at everything subjectively and research and investigate everything that is being said on a personal basis as thoroughly as possible, and to come to a conclusion that is definitely right for all of you. To give you a small introduction to Mr. Khanat is the current executive director of the Uyghur Human Rights Project. He has worked for years in the field of journalism, and he has traveled to many, many countries covering different types of topics. And his work has been appeared in numerous journals across the globe. Mr. Khanat also is one of the most well-known advocates in the Uyghur issue, as he's an Uyghur himself. And after Mr. Omar Khanat, we would like to welcome Ms. UYGHUR Thorson, who is one of only two survivors of the Chinese concentration camps located in Xinjiang, or also known as East Turkestan area. So, without further ado, I would like to welcome Mr. Khanat.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. First, I would like to thank the organizers of this event and also today's audience for your warm welcome and your interest in the human rights crisis in East Turkestan. My homeland is East Turkestan, in Uyghur language, in China call it Xinjiang, and Xinjiang Uyghur Autonomous Region. Xinjiang means in China new territory, so the Uyghurs prefer to call their homeland as East Turkestan with its historical name. As you can see, East Turkestan located at the center of the Chinese government's new built-in road initiative. East Turkestan has long been the epicenter of trade between China and the West, not just for its strategic location. The fertile and resource-rich land has proven to be incredibly profitable, giving China all the more reason to incorporate East Turkestan into its newly initiated Belt and Road. The Uyghur culture. Uyghurs have a very rich culture. In history, cultural attire is depicted here, showing vibrant colors and intricate design, demonstrating how important the arts are to Uyghur people. Music and dancing are woven into everyday life in Uyghur culture, making Uyghur culture tradition world famous for their beauty. Uyghur people have long suffered discrimination in political and religious repression. The Uyghur Human Rights Project, my organization, has published over 70 reports about the human rights violation against the Uyghur people in East Turkestan. The human rights abuses were occurring on a massive scale long before the current crisis, which Secretary of State Mike Pompeo called the stain of the century. But in 2017, the Chinese government began a total war on the Uyghur religion, language, culture, and family life. In short, CCP is now carrying out a campaign to exterminate Uyghur identity and Uyghur religion. The government has rounded up an estimated 2 to 3 million Uyghurs into mass internment camps, out of a population of about 12 million according to Chinese figures. But the Uyghurs think they are more than that, about 20 million. We call them concentration camps because innocent people are taken into these camps based on their ethno-religious identity. There is no judicial process, there is no appeal. Government policies list 48 reasons to place Uyghurs in indefinite secret detention. It can be any religious expression, wearing a headscarf, praying at home, or fasting during the Ramadan, attending a traditional wedding, praying at a funeral, any contact with foreign countries, and more. In reality, just being a Uyghur is enough to be taken away into account. So here are a handful of items that have been confiscated from Uyghurs' homes in East Turkestan by the Chinese government. The platter banned for its use of Arabic and Islamic symbols. The sculpture banned for the crescent moon at the top of the object, and the prayer mat banned for its use in prayer, as well as its depiction of mosques. UYGHUR, my organization, has documented the systematic destruction of mosques. Some were 600 or 800 years old. The remaining mosques have a big portrait of Chinese President Xi Jinping inside. Outside, a big banner covers the usual sign praising the God. The new banner says, "Love the Communist Party." Hundreds of Uyghur cemeteries and shrines are also being paved over. Even the dead are not left in peace. As one of the cornerstones of the Uyghur identity, Uyghurs' Islamic faith has been the major target of the Chinese government's campaign to eliminate the Uyghur ethno-religious identity. This is a step-by-step erasure of Uyghur sacred places and the physical symbols of Uyghur culture. It's a clear indicator of the genocidal intent. What's more, these demolitions violate international human rights law and are a permanent loss to the heritage of humanity. UNESCO and concerned government have a responsibility to end the systematic destruction of a people and a faith. China has also erected the most complete high-tech surveillance state in the world to control Uyghurs. The there are millions of cameras in every corner of the city, even in the homes of the Uyghurs. Cameras with facial recognition software are everywhere. There are checkpoints everywhere. It is a 21st century despotia. State surveillance extends inside Uyghur homes. More than 1 million Chinese officials regularly eat and sleep with Uyghur families in so-called homestay program. Officials offer things during the meals that the Uyghurs don't eat and offers things that Uyghurs don't drink to test whether they show religious extremism. If they refuse to eat it, the Chinese officials and the Uyghur families took these photos and posted them on social media to show that they are complying with this program. Even if the men of the family are gone in the camps, that does not stop the Chinese officials from sleeping in the homes of the Uyghurs with their women and the children. We have heard truly terrible cases of what happens in these situations. Government has an official policy to promote inter-ethnic marriages. There are financial subsidies, and there is a threat that if a Uyghur woman refuses a marriage offer of a Han-Chinese man, she could be accused of harming ethnic unity and harboring extremist thoughts. She and her whole family could be sent to the camps. Many photos like this have been posted on China's version of TikTok. This is a part of the policy to quote, break their lineage, break their roots, break their connections, and break their origins, unquote. Chinese authorities have been doing everything to assault Uyghur culture and religion, to humiliate Uyghurs. CCP force, as you can see in these photos, hundreds of imams took to the streets and danced and sing songs praising the Communist Party and praising Xi Jinping. The event was recorded and broadcast all over Chinese social media in news outlets. Women are also forced to take part in this dance on the street. As if this were not enough, the women were forced to dress in Communist Party red and hold Chinese flags. Conditions in the camp are unspeakable. As you see, this is a picture that we took from an official Chinese website. Starvation diet, dehydration, death in custody, overcrowding and lack of medical care. People have terrible skin diseases because of lack of washing facilities. You will hear more from the camp survivor, Mehrgul, a little later. Camp survivors have testified to horrific torture, including rape and electric shock. The detainees being forced to renounce their religion and culture. They spent hours being forced to confess their crimes and pledging loyalty to the Communist Party. They had to repeat over and over again, my soul is infected with serious disease. Disease means the religion, Islam. There is no God. I don't believe in God. I believe in the Communist Party. Here you can see a drone footage of mass prisoners transferred to unknown location in mainland China. According to some reports, about 400,000 Uyghur men aged between 17 and 49 transferred from East Turkestan concentration camps in East Turkestan to mainland to prisons in mainland China. They could be sentenced to long time imprisonment, and many are forced to work in factories 6 and 7 days a week. Some factories are inside the prison camps, Others are nearby. They are forced to sleep in the factory and are paid for below minimum wage or nothing at all. This is the most massive forced labor crisis in the world today, and is truly a form of modern slavery. Many of the factories producing clothing for international brands. What has happened to the children of the detainees? Once both parents taken to the concentration camps, the children taken away from their grandparents or other relatives into state-run facilities. They are forbidden to speak Uyghur and almost never see their relatives, and their names also have changed already, has been changed into Chinese already. So if their parents even get out alive from the camps, they will not be able to see or find their children. But the Chinese government calls them orphanages, state orphanages, but the Washington Post calls them concentration camps for children. As you can see in this slide, Uyghurs have traveled out of the region, have also been deprived of their family members. Each one of the people depicted here have at least one family member who is missing, most likely within the camp system, simply because they have family members living out of the country. Unfortunately, this is the story of thousands of Uyghurs all over the world. The disappearance don't stop here. My organization, the Uyghur Human Rights Project, has documented the detention and disappearance of 435 well-known Uyghur scholars from dozens of fields. Some of them have been given suspended death sentences that have already expired. To this day, we still don't know whether or not they are dead or alive. So another thing is, once somebody taken to one of these camps, there is no way to get any information whatsoever about their well-being or about their whereabouts. Yeah. The coronavirus has also affected East Turkestan. There are now many cases have been recorded in the region, but the CCP has formally stated that the amount of infected individuals is a state secret and will not be made public. If this virus were to reach the concentration camps, this would result in a complete disaster, infecting hundreds of thousands of people in a matter of days, most likely killing the vast majority of them due to the poor condition and lack of medical treatment. Dr. Adrian Zenz said the coronavirus could add an entirely new dimension to the crisis. Uyghurs are facing a serious risk of genocidal impact. We once again appeal to the public health experts and concerned governments to publicly raise concern about this risk. Now we are raising the alarm about yet another fresh coronavirus nightmare. In late January, Uyghurs around the world began receiving messages from East Turkestan about the inhuman quarantine condition for those outside the camps. It could seem absolutely incredible that the government officials would not only lock millions of people in their homes for 3 weeks with no warning, but would then refuse to allow them to buy food, refuse to bring food supplies to hungry children. Yesterday, the Chinese official media reported a transfer of thousands of Uyghurs to the cities in mainland China to work in the factories. Even in democratic countries, the Chinese government harassed, threatened, and coerced the Uyghurs. They receive demands to return home if they don't want their family members to be taken to the camps. they received demand to spy on other Uyghurs. Hundreds of Uyghurs have testified to receiving phone calls and text messages saying, think about your responsibility, think about your family back home. The international community's response has been shameful. The US has not done much, but it has done more than any other countries. Senators and congressmen have held hearings and introduced the Uyghur Human Rights Policy Act. Okay. 5 minutes? Okay. Secretary of State Pompeo has spoken forcefully to condemn this crisis and called the other countries to act. The State Department has imposed a visa ban on officials responsible for abuses against Uyghur people and other Turkic Muslims in East Turkestan. The Vice President and many other cabinet officials have condemned the abuses. President Trump has met with the Uyghurs as well. Thousands of people are over the world, all over the world, are starting to become aware of the atrocities occurring in my homeland. Human rights groups, religious organizations, and passionate individuals have protested in dozens of countries in an attempt to get their governments to take action. The one thing is very important. Unfortunately, the International Olympics Committee will soon have a tremendous historical stake on its legacy. The Winter Olympics are supposed to take place in Beijing in 2022. We wrote to the IOC to point out that it is in danger of breaking the Olympic Charter if athletes are forced to compete in the shadow of concentration camps. You can join our Olympic campaigns. The International Olympics Committee cannot reward China and go along with its sport washing effort to have a place of honor on the international stage. I think this is a perfect campaign for the students. You can start a pressure campaign to ask these companies who are, sponsoring this Olympics, if they want to be associated forever with Beijing's concentration camp. Just look up hashtag no right, no game to get involved. So what you can do? First of all, I hope you will call your senators to urge them to act quickly to pass the Uyghur Human Rights Policy Act. These senators have not co-sponsored yet the Uyghur Human Rights Policy Act. And then we ask you to help with humanitarian relief for Uyghur refugees who cannot go back to China and are stuck in countries where there is no help from UN or the big international refugee organizations. We ask you to help Uyghur Human Rights Policy project to continue our advocacy work, our our research work. We need to bring more witnesses like Camp Survival, Mehribul Tursun, who is here with us, to the United Nations, to the European Parliament, to testify about the persecution of Muslims by Chinese government. We need your help to continue documenting what's happening, because the media in many languages other than English are censored by the government. They are afraid of offending China. If you can help us to do this, brothers and sisters, we would be grateful for your donation on your website. I hope you are angry right now about what's happening in East Turkestan for the Uyghur Muslims. Together, let us turn that anger to action. Thank you again for your attention and warm sympathy. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kanat, for your informative explanation. We would now like to officially welcome our camp survivor, but also at the same time, dear sister, Mary Wilson, who has come all the way from Virginia to testify and to tell her story of what has happened in these horrific camps that are in China today, that exists within our century, shamefully. And so, as we have reiterated in the beginning, we would like to ask each and every one of you to please respectfully listen, and we will shortly after that we will move into the Q&A session. And please welcome Ms. Miracle Tursun.
My name is Miracle Tursun. I am from East Turkestan, actually Chinese Xinjiang. I don't know from where I start. And when I'm 12 years old, after I go to China inside Guangzhou, study in Guangzhou, 11 years. After I finish university in Guangzhou, I go to Egypt 2010, studied bachelor in Egypt, British University. After I get married in Egypt, 2014, I have triplets, 2 boys, 1 girl. And then when my kid is born, after 45 days, I go back to my hometown, East Turkestan, because I'm alone, I can't take care. So I need my parents help me. So 2015, March 12, when I go back to my East Turkestan with my triplet, an airport, Chinese official government take me to another way and then take from me my triplet to another way because they want to ask me some question why, because of the result. After that, an airport asked from me about 3 hours, so many questions. Then they give my hand clap and then give my head black hole, take me to emergency present, my city present. From that time to until near to 6 months, I don't see my triplet and then I don't know why they catch me, what happened, why I am here, I don't know about anything. They just ask me questions. Why you go to another country, and then why you study another language, why you go to Egypt, what are you doing in Egypt, what you do anything bad for China government, so many questions. So after 6 months, they give me can go outside prison, but I am in blacklist people. That means they take my passport and my ID, my cell phone. I cannot call anybody. I cannot go outside from my city, another country, and ID. And that time is if any Uyghur people no have ID, cannot buy ticket, cannot go to bank, cannot go even market, because from 2015 to until now, any Uyghur people every 100 meters in my city have police official check. Where are you going? What are you doing? Must we need ID? If we have ID, we can go anywhere. So from the prison, I go to a children's hospital in my city. I see my 2 kids, they have operation from their neck, but I don't know why they make operation. They say because kids is so small, cannot eat food. They make surgery from his neck. And then the second day, they say I can take out from hospital my triplet, but one of this Mohammed is my big children, he's dead, because they say because he make operation, he cannot, his body not strong. So, as a mother, I need to have baby, but when I have baby, after 45 days, I lose them. After 6 months, I see him, and then I take one is my hand, is dead body. I don't know how to explain that feeling. I just scream and cry because I cannot ask from the Chinese doctor why. I just ask why they let me to go out from the hospital. And then I go with my parents, take my twin kids to my hometown. From that time start until 2018, I was in the detention camp. It's like They say detention camp, but this is like more than prison. In prison, people can sleep anytime, can eat, and then maybe can cover like this, but we don't have. So 2017, I was the second time to prison. Both 2015 and 2017, my health is so weak. I cannot, they don't take me to prison. They want me to stay at home, take care of my children. But two Chinese officials every 2 weeks change another guys. They are with me in my home, with my father, mother. Sleep with me, same home, sleep with me, same, eat with us. If we go to outside, they must go with us. So I cannot tell anything from my mother, father, and then they cannot ask me any question. So we just cry, and then we just stay with us. If we drink alcohol, we must drink alcohol. Like this. And 2017, my health is little become good. 2017, April 17, they take me again the prison. That time I was at home. The Chinese police coming, give my hand. And with my twin scales. Give my hand, the hand club, give my head, black hole, to take me prison. Even my father, mother, brother, sister cannot ask them, this is my daughter, or why you want to take them, what happened, cannot. Like I am nothing. Because this is in my country have like this, any people cannot do anything. Even if somebody the police come to me, my father, mother, only can cry, cannot ask. So they take me prison, a sweet day, morning and night they ask so much question and they let me stay like a tiger chair. The tiger chair can club from two places, your hand, and then from your body, and then from your leg. They close, you cannot move. So every 2 hours, 3, 4 man Chinese official change to ask a question, really what time you born, who you know, which university you study, what you study, which country you going. Actually, they know everything. They know everything. They have all documents. Also, they ask the same question. Because they want me to answer something, if I change some date or time to answer, they start beat me. Because they say you liar. Why? Because yesterday you say like this and today you say like this. Sometimes I am not computer, sorry, I forget, because every day some question, and they start torture. So they ask, you are Muslim? I say, yes, I am Muslim. And then they start with me, why you are Muslim? What's meaning Muslim? Do you pray? I say, in Egypt I pray, and here I don't pray. He asked me, how you pray? I say, I just pray for Allah like this. And then they start with me, okay, I bid you, your Allah can know this everything. Okay, tell him, come to here, help you. And after I say I'm not Muslim, because I cannot stay the torture beating, because he beat my ear. From my right ear comes so many blood. I lost the hearing, and now I cannot listen from my right ear. Shave my hair. Sorry, my English is not good. So after when this electric charge, the time I lost my feeling like I need to die. I need to faster die. So all my body shake, pain, and then I start, please kill me. I ask them to kill me. They say we cannot kill you easy. If you want to die, before you die, tell your God, come here, and then if he is strong, then help you now. And then I want to ask him, he is strong because I am strong. So they charge after I lost my feeling, they put, give my face water. Then after they give me some small medicine, want me lost, like, I don't know what this medicine is. That time I feeling a fly and somebody hit my body, I don't feeling they touch me or they hit me, I don't feel anything. Then they take some dog, police dog. They coming like want me worry, but I don't worry. I don't listen what the dog, how, or I don't listen anything. I lose feeling. What they doing, I don't know. This is like so dark day, 7 day, 3 day, and morning and night. After that, they put me 7 days dark room. The 7 days dark room. I cannot see anything, any light. I don't have any light. It's a very dark room, still room. And I have small place. I need this use like bathroom. And then the open door down is open very small. Sometimes I push and sleep it down like I want to take oxygen. Because this from small down very small place, they give me bread and then give me food. I don't know, I cannot see even this, what is this? But sometimes I need to eat because I must need life. After 7 days, they take me to some place and then so many white clothes, Chinese, they are like doctor. I think maybe they will take my organ or something, but they don't do this. They take from me blood test and then take my heart, kidney, every organ. After take something like a woman, like a baby, like stomach, everything. After they take me downstairs, like when they take me downstairs, I see 5, 7. I don't know this is woman or man because they are all no have clothes, no have hair. I just see from back. I'm so worried. After they take me also send like take my old clothes and then put me like one small glass, want me enter inside glass and then give some steam. Want me check like 10 seconds. I don't know what's happened here, like I'm confused and see what they are doing. Do they want to eat us or they want what they're doing for me? I just in my mind, why I am here, what time I want to die, how I die. So one day I lost my memory, I don't know. After a couple of months or couple of days when I opened my eyes, I was in Urumqi. Urumqi is my city, Churchan is 2,000 miles far away. I don't know how I am there and I am in mental hospital. They say I lost my memory, I will become crazy. And I remember someone, I don't want to tell his name. She saved my life. She said last time I know. She said your name is same my name. But I try to help you. Finally you come to your normal life, you know your name and then now you are okay. But secondly, again, Chinese officials take me to prison. The Chinese government take from my family 26 people. My father, mother, sister, brother, his wife, and his daughter. Even my husband, he is already pension 16 years. I don't know his life or not. All in prison. And they gave me 2 months time to work, come Egypt, and then cancel my kids, Egyptian citizen, and then come back China. But I come Egypt. After that, Egypt government need to me go back to China. If I go back to China, I will die of course, but my family, I cannot help them to go out from prison. So I contact this American embassy. Then State Department, I will thanks for State Department, American government. They help my kids and me. They give me advance parole visa. They help me bring to America. This 2018 October 22. So I am here, I'm live here, but my mind and myself, I think I live in America about maybe 2 months or 3 months. Before always every day I think about I want to kill myself, I don't want to live. Because every night I sleep, I was this person. I was tortured, this Chinese Communist Party ask question. It was 3 years, not easy for me. And now, maybe all my life, I cannot forget this. So I'm confusing until this before 2 months. This is my dream is reality, or this reality is my dream. So I go to mental doctor. They give me like depression medicine. I eat for night depression medicine and for morning 155 milligram, like control stress this medicine. So I will become good now, and then I study, like take care of my kids. But I lost my husband, I lost my father, mother, I lost my all, everything. So I am from 29 years old, I lost everything from start zero. But I don't want to lose trust Allah. I know Allah is strong, can do everything. Because when I was present, I hope my father coming help me. I hope my brother coming help me. As a Muslim woman, I proud I have brother. I think and my father very strong people in the world. So every time when I'm angry, when I'm crying, my father say, "Don't worry, I'm strong. You are the other person who can touch you. I will be there." But Chinese government give me torture. Can my son like do everything for me? But my father cannot do anything, and then my brother cannot do anything. So I lose. I say nobody can help me. Who can? Only Allah. I pray from inside. Allah, you make people. You can do everything. I want life because of my two children. Because I don't do anything. I don't want that easily. Give me chance again. I do something too for my life. Subhanallah, I have life again. But when I am here, I will thank my Allah, Alhamdulillah. But I don't never give up. I want to tell all people also, please do anything. Save my people, save Uyghur people, save my parents from my family. They say, and maybe more than 3,000 people in concentration camp. I think it's more than. In the street, we cannot see any people. So much father, so much woman, so much kids die. They give his body fire. They don't do anything. When I am present 2017, the 17 years old girl, she only stays in city. She don't never pay airplane. She asked me, I listen, you go to Egypt before? I say yes. You see, how you go to Egypt? With a car or with bicycle or with bus? I say, I go with airplane. She said, wow, I see airplane very small. How you enter inside? The meaning is she don't know anything. She's mind so small, she don't know anything. But she died because the 3-4 please take her to outside what happened. She died. She come with so much blood and she died, she smoked it. So I don't remember these people say, Miracle, we think maybe you lied. If you lied, please ask my kids, where's my husband, where's my father? They don't know. But after I'm from prison, I directly go to airport, from airport I come to here. I don't know, ask their family, I cannot ask. Now here I can ask from people, please help Uyghur, help my family, do anything you can, whatever doing. Thank you so much. If I have anybody ask any question, ask me. Thank you so much.
Now we will begin Q&A session. As we reiterated it before, please be respectful with your questions. If there are questions, please ask them in a rational and a respectful manner. And both Umar and Mir will try to answer in the best capacity as possible.
Hello, and thank you very much for your talk. It was very insightful and very heartfelt, like you have a lot of cry, honestly. My question is that I see the government is doing all these really bad things, and they're doing it so systematically and in such an organized manner. Why is there this hate or this motivation in those people to do this? Where did it come from? Why did it begin? So I'm confused. What drives someone to do something so evil, and why?
Yes, you are asking the same question, why they are doing this evil at this time. It is the 21st century, and now again is happening again in China. So the government is, it's a general trend in China actually, after Xi Jinping took over. So he wants to control everything. It's not only Uyghurs, of course, other people as well. Generally in China, the situation has changed dramatically. But of course, in our region, China considered the Uyghurs began to consider Uyghurs as a threat, security threat to China. And because of this, also this Belt and Road initiative, the strategic importance of the region has increased dramatically, and also Chinese leaders paranoid that oil, gold, every kind of minerals, so they want to control everything. They want to get rid of the Uyghurs and make this land, which doesn't belong to China actually. Chinese Communist Party took control of the region in 1949. This is a occupied land actually. It is East Turkestan, as I say, and China has changed its name as Xinjiang. So this is the reason, because this land doesn't belong to China, and they want to make a Chinese land. And also, they actually assimilated all other minorities. Officially in Chinese officially in China there are 56 something minorities. It is only on the paper. They don't exist anymore. They are not existing. So all of them have been already assimilated, or then only a few groups remain: Uyghurs, Tibetan, and some Mongols. So they want get rid of Uyghurs and took control of the land, this rich resource land.
About other Muslim countries, and one of the things that's been surprising is that very few Muslim governments have spoken out against the camps. And I think it's clear it's probably because of the economic support they get from China, pressure from China. But I'm wondering about the citizens of these countries, predominantly Muslim countries. What can be done to reach the citizens of these countries and make them more aware of these camps? I mean, because I could imagine that the citizens of these countries could put pressure on their governments to maybe speak out against the camps.
Yes, this question also in BBC News, she is asking me also same. I give already interview for Kanal and then Al Jazeera. I asked from Saudi president, from Turkish government, so many Arab countries, why they are silent? Because they have business with Chinese government. And if they are with fighting or let the Chinese stop doing something for Uyghur Muslims, they cannot do his business. They cannot protect his country or his people. So I already asked, I cannot tell you the name, the two country president, why you return back in your country this 300 students with Chinese government? Why you don't save them? They say because these people has Chinese passport. Of course, they are from Uyghur. We have Chinese passport because we already control our country. But they say they have Chinese passport. We must let him to return back. But we don't want to fight with Chinese government because we have business. Because of your people, if we fighting with Chinese government, we need to do business. We need to protect our country, our people. I just get like this answer, so I cannot wish more than. Thank you.
Yes, it's very unfortunate, of course, many of the Muslim countries, Muslim governments, I can say, they are not only silent, they are silent by the Chinese government. They are, supporting the Chinese narrative. So it's very unfortunate. But there are some movements now in Muslim countries, not by the government, but the non-governmental organizations, very influential individuals in Muslim countries. We hope that it will, this movement will become more strong in Muslim countries, and they will force the governments to take some actions. There are countries, for example, in Turkey, the Turkish people are very sensitive to this issue, and they actually by protesting and taking to the streets at the end, they force their governments, for example, to speak up. And also there are some large movements in Malaysia, in Indonesia, and also in some Arab countries. Some politicians, members of the parliaments, started to speak up. So we hope that it will become a general trend in the whole Muslim world, because this is a assault on Islam. They are destroying our mosques. They are, even we cannot greet each other. Assalamu alaikum. It is a reason to be to place in a concentration camp. We cannot give Muslim names to our children. So it's not something that no, everybody knows. Muslim countries knows what's happening. When we speak with some official, with government official, they say that we know what's happening. So why you are not speaking up? We don't want the Muslim countries to become, anti-China and cut their, relation with China. So they can at least, approach China friendly, and they can tell the Chinese authorities what you are doing is wrong. It is an attack and assault and war against all Muslims, because you are banning Muslim names. You are, punishing the people for Uyghurs for fasting, for praying. Even people are being sentenced to 15 years, 20 years imprisonment because of attending a religious ceremony 15 years ago. So this is actually what's the destroying of the mosques. As I said, 600, 800 years old mosques in East Turkestan is a big loss for all Muslim countries, for Islamic world. So they should stand up. So the US government also encouraging other Muslim countries to speak up. If they speak up, the Chinese government will take it very seriously, because they have very large, big economic relations with these Muslim countries. So they don't want to lose their influence and their economic benefits in Muslim countries. So we hope the Muslim countries will speak up more strongly.
So you mentioned that they were in labor camps, and then I saw briefly on the slide that there were companies you said to boycott. I was just wondering if you could talk a little bit more about what companies might be doing the forced labor camps.
So there are a lot of companies they are doing that. So today there was maybe you have already seen a report by Washington Post. The Nike, for example, 80,000 Uyghurs already worked for these, factories of the large Western brands in mainland China. And China, in a few days, transferred more than 30,000 Uyghur workers from East Turkestan to mainland China to work in this factory. And also, we are trying to find out which companies are working. There are a few we managed to find out, but there are many others who are working with Chinese authorities. Even there were American companies who helped China to build this surveillance system. This is something that all the governments now the U.S. government has already took some actions. For example, they banned the 8 large tech high-tech companies to export import with these large 8 large Chinese companies. And also, as I said, they put a visa ban for many Chinese officials who had a direct responsibility in current crackdown in East Turkestan. There were already some companies cut, for example, their especially in cotton, in textile, because East Turkestan is the largest production of cotton is in East Turkestan. So the Chinese authorities now encourage the Chinese textile companies to move their plants to East Turkestan because there are now cheap labor. They say, claim that they are some of the detainees. They call, of course, this concentration camps as vocational training centers, and they say they claim that many people graduated from these vocational training centers and now began to work in factories. So all these factories are textile factories because of the cotton. The Chinese big companies now move to East. Some of their productions move to East Turkestan to use this forced labor.
Another question I wanted to ask: have you found out what those injections were about, or what the cuts on your baby's neck was about? Did you find out what it was about?
About my kids, familiar cut, he says it's for food because they are small. They cannot eat from mouth. They put the cut from here. They give something feeding. Yeah, stabilizes. But in my son, from that time, his head inside had some meat. I don't know what the infection, very big. So and already in DC children hospital make operation. They take them because they say all 96% they become big. And only 40% if I live maybe 10 days, I lost my son also because his take oxygen is very hard that time. But before 1 month, he has already taken surgery and become good. And my daughter, until now, I don't have the chance to go to check. And about me, because I don't have insurance when I come, United States government take me to check about my blood. You see, I don't have any disease, but have something in my blood. Zero need to check. And then what happens is, and now in my body, some place to coming something small, not pain, but I don't know what is this. Also they will check, and then that's only. But this medicines injection, I don't know. Maybe this injection make woman no give again baby, and make of course man our country man cannot have baby again. But woman we don't know now. Now we cannot check here because I want to make more check, but I don't have insurance now, so I'm waiting my paper document everything finish, and I have to check everything for my body. And when I check, they say already broken from inside, but his blood vessel is cut, so I cannot hear. Even if they make operation, also maybe I cannot hear again. So I just hear from this head. That's like this. But about my family, about more than 2 months, 2 years and then 2 months, I cannot not have any information. I cannot talk in the same. But I find about 2019 April 17 also, the Chinese CCTV, they go to my hometown, they get interview from my brother and my mother, let the TV say my daughter never been in the prison, and she is always free. And my one son in Turkey and two sons with me in Egypt. They let them to speak liar because I know the government. They must be speak as government say. If they don't speak, they will kill them. I just see from a video, but until now I don't know about my sister, my father, what happened for them. That's all. Thank you.
So, for almost 2 years, more than 2 years, the Uyghurs, the communication between Uyghurs in abroad and Uyghurs in homeland are cut. Nobody can communicate with so because and also there is we are not safe even in the U.S. because Chinese government, Chinese agents keep calling Uyghurs. They know how many Uyghurs live in the U.S. and they keep calling the Uyghurs every day, still now, and threatening them, not to involve in any kind of activities, not expose anything, otherwise their family members back home will be punished. There are about 5,000 Uyghurs, more than 5,000 Uyghurs in the US. Every one of them have someone in the concentration camps, but only a few people came forward and speak up and testify about their situation, about their relatives back home. The others are silent because they are still afraid, because China will retaliate and punish their relatives back home.
I just wanted to expand on what Minjigu was saying, because we spoke about this the other day. There is a video about Minjigu and her testimony after she was released from the camps, and it's been all over Facebook. It went viral. After it went viral, CGTV, which is very openly, what is it? CGTN, the television network, is very openly funded by the Chinese government. They don't bother to hide this. They made an attempt at slandering Minjigu and her testimony by visiting her family in their home, which included her mother and her brother, who she mentioned had his head shaven, and it was very clear that he was recently in prison himself. If you watch the video, you can actually see it's 3 minutes long as opposed to her long, very long testimonial. If you watch the video, her parents are pointing to a picture of her children saying, oh, her children are alive and they're in Egypt. But that is obviously factually not true because they're here. So given, China's influence over the media and their own media, they're trying to retaliate. And, Minjigu has gone home and she's gotten plenty of death threats at home, in her home, forcing her to move multiple times while in America. So we're just trying to make her life a little easier by spreading the word and trying to inform people that the Chinese government and Chinese people who are influenced by the government and others who are influenced by that party or agency still are in denial of what's actually happening. And somehow they can deny the thousands of sources and news articles and physical evidence and testimonials. I mean, you see it for yourself.
How do you think this could end? Like, what do you think it would take for China to stop doing this?
Action by the international community to force China to have the international community should take some action that should have some consequences on Chinese side, so China can, China stop this. Because otherwise China will continue. It's silent will be a green light for China to go further. Because the worst will come, if international community stays silent and not take a serious action. Then the worst will come. The scholar, China scholar Ryan Thurm, in his testimony and U.S. Congress said that the end result will be, he said, I'm concerned. The consequences will be a mass murder and a genocide. Because there are now, according to some information, about more than 3 million, according to U.S. Officials, 1.8 up to 3 million people are in. So this is, and also after this, coronavirus. So we are, very concerned what will happen if this virus hit these concentration camps. And so therefore the international community should take urgent action. It is now for the UN, it should be discussed in the United Nations Security Council. They should interfere. Otherwise, China will continue. It will take the silence of the international community, inaction of the international community as a green light to go further.
I was just wondering if there has been some sort of reluctance, like the Chinese government is not trying to prevent coronavirus spread in East Turkestan.
Yeah, we don't have concrete, but as I said yesterday, Chinese government, Xinjiang autonomous regional government sent thousands of people to mainland China, where the virus is coming from, to work at the factories in China. And also, we haven't heard any concrete action by the Chinese government to prevent this, spread of the virus in the region. They took action in the region. As I said, it was very, they took suddenly some actions and without warning the people, so they locked the people inside their homes. This is the action the Chinese government has taken. So every door is locked from the outside. The people are not able to come out of their houses, and the government, the government ordered them to stay in the house, but without any warning. So there is now a risk of starvation. The people are appealing for help. We are receiving messages from East Turkestan about starvation. People took to the streets. There are some video footages that they took. So the risk of being punished by the Chinese government, but they sent this messages to outside world and calling for Chinese government. Even to there is a video footage that a person is banging his head to the pole and crying and for help, and even saying, "Kill me! If you want to kill me, my children are dying of dying because we don't have anything to eat." So the difference between the mainland China and East Turkestan is, in East Turkestan you cannot protest, you cannot say anything against the measures or against any actions that government takes. So this is the difference between mainland China in our region.
And another thing I see in news is in Washington D.C. Radio Free Asia, they already put the news about in China city Wuhan, this Wuhan city, so strong coronavirus place. the China city inside, all airplane, air bus station, and then the train station already closed, cannot go to anyone anywhere. But only any people from this Wuhan airplane can go to East Turkestan. So that meaning is you can understand. Now in Urumqi I listen this from news, 76 people have coronavirus and died, 5 people died. I don't know this is 3-4 days what happened again. If this Wuhan people cannot go anywhere, or they can go to East Turkestan, they can go in time. Now what happened to other people, I cannot imagine. Now I am only also worried about what happened for my family, how many died or live. So we know about this only.
Hi, I'm really happy to have you here and speak about the issues in East Turkestan. And I'm a Tibetan, and I came from Tibet. I originally born there, and I actually feel when you guys talk about this thing, because I have my grandfather who is 94 years old right now, and he has been in prison for 12 years, and he used to tell me how much he has suffered in prison. And more than 150 Tibetan people in Tibet have self-immolated because they know that if they protest and if they got caught by the Chinese government, that they're going to suffer in the prison for the entire life, and their families are also going to be in danger. So they make sure that they die on the right spot. They burn themselves alive and protest against the Chinese government. That's only the method that they can protest against them. And my question is, do social credit exist in East Turkestan? What I mean by social credit is that if you turn in another Uyghur when they do something, and if you report to the Chinese government, do that Uyghur person get social credit? Will he be promoted to another level in case he has a job or something? Because that exists in Tibet. If another Tibetan turns against another Tibetan, then he gets social credit as well. And another question that I'm asking you is that what level of support the global community has given to Uyghur people? Do you think that the global community should do more? And if you think that the global community has given any kind of support, what kind of support you have received, and what do you think that we can do more? Thank you so much.
Yes, of course, the same thing. The situation in Tibet and East Turkestan is the same. I can say this party chief, of East Turkestan, the Chinchengo, which is the main manager, I can say, the person who implemented this policy in East Turkestan, was party secretary in Tibet for 5 years, and he started this, repression, this new repression system in Tibet, and came, and then he was assigned as the party secretary in East Turkestan. So then he take this extreme measures in our homeland. So, but of course, they are doing the same methods in our region as well. But even the people who are, in our homeland, even the people who have been working for the Communist Party for many decades now in this, concentration camp. So it is a attempt by Chinese authorities. So they decided to forcefully assimilate Uyghur people, to eliminate their culture, eliminate their religion, and eliminate their identity. So for China, being Uyghur itself is enough to be punished. So being Uyghur is enough reason to be in the concentration camp. But of course, China also used some Uyghurs, to this social credit system to suppress the others by their hands. So international community, as you say, we don't think that we are getting enough support from international community. There are, of course, statements of condemnation. Until now, not a very strong, action has been taken stop to convince China that it should stop this repression. It has not been taken. So we want international community because this repression will not stop in East Turkestan. This technology, surveillance technology that China has been using in East Turkestan now already, the Chinese authorities began to export to other regions. This repression in the region is expanding to other parts of China as well, and even to other countries. If international community not take an urgent action to stop China, then other countries will, the whole world will change. The other countries will use the same methods. So, yeah, I can solve my problem by just forcefully assimilating a minority, a group within my border, so nobody will say anything. So it will be a very bad example, for other countries to follow. So therefore, this is, I think, the responsibility of the international community to come together and to take a concrete action. Concrete action. We want concrete action. This concrete action has not been taken yet. We are very happy. So there are condemnations. There are, statements of condemnation by many officials in some Western countries, Western organizations, but not a concrete action. So we want international community to take a concrete action before it's too late. Before it's too late. Because now many Uyghurs say that now what's happening now is a genocide without a gas chambers. If international community stays silent, not take action, the gas chambers will come. Because Chinese authorities already began to build crematorium, in the areas where all these concentration camps exist. So this is very worrisome. It should concern all of the world what's happening in our region. So I want to ask, maybe there is no question, are you going to take action? At least call your senators, as I say, because every call, every signature make a big difference. Yeah, there are phone numbers, everything, so you can call. It will be a very big help for Uyghurs, because if this bill passed the Senate and became a law, then it will send a very strong signal to Chinese authorities. It means a big, concrete action, and we have to judge. And there are a lot of other provisions in them that is helpful for the Uyghurs. So therefore, we are trying very hard to pass this bill from the Senate and then to become a law. All Uyghurs, Uyghurs are waiting for this. So this will play a very important role in saving Uyghurs from being destroyed by the Chinese authorities.
Can we please also see the slide where the companies were?
This is these are the companies that are the co-sponsoring the Olympics, and also have very close and some of them have this Volkswagen, for example, they have a big plant in our region. So they say, even the chief of this Volkswagen CEO said that I'm not aware of this, this human rights violations are happening in China. So therefore, if you can, your students, and you can write very easily, so you can also I didn't show that slide for, yeah, Firuza Aziz, yeah, she's a African American. She made a big difference. So she actually started with these, what we call it, yeah, makeup things, then began to speak about whether you are aware that the millions of Uyghur Muslims are in concentration camps. So millions, more than a million people, followed her and, watched as, her tweet on Twitter. So you can follow her example and make a big difference. And also in your your university, you can organize or you can set up a Uyghur support group, for example. Yeah. Rochester students support Uyghurs. So this will make a big difference. That's why we are here. We don't want to go back without anything. We want to have something. And tell the people, our people in Washington, D.C., that we went to Rochester and we managed to achieve this. So we have to go with a concrete result from the Rochester.
So before we move on, we can take one more question before we end. So if there's any more questions, please raise your hand. No? Okay. Well, before we end, we would like to, I would like to, and before I hand it off to the mic to our president, Anthony Torcolo, I'd like to say a few words about how this event came about. As you all know, this event, the event about the Uyghur human rights crisis was held last semester in October. And as we had seen, it was a huge success in the sense that a lot of people not only were informed about it, but we've also found out that a lot of people also did something about it. And I think that's the most important thing right now, is that people do something because it's simply the right thing to do. As you've heard from our sister Miracle today, I would like to also, on behalf of everyone, all the Uyghur supporters, not only in this country but abroad as well, is that every single one of you being here have given her hope, have given all the Uyghurs a hope that the words "we are abandoned" is, fortunately, through your presence, is fading. And that's something that I feel that each and every one of you, each and every one of us should be proud of. We'd like to challenge all of you to please take further action, but also in the context of the free environment that we have in this country, because we can speak out, because we can do the right thing, and because we can question everything to learn more, to seek more knowledge. And I would like to end by saying that we all do this so that every single Uyghur, every single Turkic people, whether they be Kazakh, Uzbek, or even Hui Muslims that are in China right now, so that one day they may enjoy the same human rights as the rest of us. Yes? So, on behalf of myself and on behalf of college Republicans, we'd like to sincerely thank each and every one of you for coming and giving hope to the Uyghur people and telling them that they are no longer abandoned. Thank you so much, and have a good night.
Once again, I'd like to thank Miracle for having the courage to tell her story. It was really, really impactful. Please share it. And I'd like to thank Mr. Kanat for sharing his perspective as director of the Uyghur Human Rights Project. As he mentioned,